Hey guys, we are going to make lab number 2 from lesson number 9. The topic is two-dimensional arrays. So what we are going to do? Create a method called fillMatrix to fill an array with random numbers in the range from -10 to 10. Note, the signature of the fillMatrix method must be as follows. We have the signature, the example of the signature of fillMatrix method. And the main thing for us is the result examples, what we are going to have in our console window after we run our ready program. Look here, we have to create fillMatrix method that will have random numbers for our arrays. So we don't know how many columns and how many rows there will be in our array. We are going to enter these numbers, to enter how many rows will be and to enter how many columns will be. After the user will enter them, we will print out the values of our array. The values are created by random function. They will be generated by random function. We don't need to enter these values. We don't need to input these values. We are going to create them using a random function. So the compiler itself will generate these numbers. It needs only needs to know the range for our generated numbers, the range from what number we are going to start and what number will be the end of the range for generated numbers. Let's create the project. We will copy this name for our project. File, new project. We have console application. Okay. And here we have the main function. Usually here we have everything what is connected with the console window. If we are going to read something, to enter something, and to print out something to the console window, we are going to have it here. And the declarations also are here. So first we are going to declare a matrix. We have the matrix, but we don't know how many columns and rows there will be. So we can start. We know that it will be integer, int. Then we have square brackets with comma. It means that there will be the matrix, or we call it two-dimensional array. So let's call our array, let's call it matrix equals. Then we have to allocate the memory for this. We use new keyword. Then we have to say that it will be integer one more time, and here we have to put, we must put how many rows there will be and how many columns, but we don't know, and we have underlined it here. It is an error, and it will be removed after we will put here something, some numbers or some variables of integer type. So let's ask user how many rows there will be and how many columns there will be. We have it here. Please enter the number of the rows. So let's prompt the user to enter the number of the rows. Console window, console write line. And we have this sentence here, and then we need to use some variable to declare some variable to store the value for number of the rows. Let's call this variable rows. It will be the meaningful name, and it will be a type of integer because the rows, the number of the rows is the integer number. So int, let's call it rows, and we are going to read it, to read from the console. So we have to parse it. Int parse, parse we have it here, and in these brackets we are going to read them: colon sol read line. Okay, so the variable rows will store the number of how many rows there will be, and we are going to put it here. And the same we are going to do with columns. So let's copy this sentence, console write line, and we have to paste it here. And let's call our variable for the number of the columns. Let's call it columns, because it will be also meaningful names. It will be also of integer type, and let's call it columns. And again we have to parse it because it will be a string type, and again we can copy it, read line. Okay, we have how many rows there will be, and we have how many columns there will be, and we will put it here, columns. Now we have no any underlining, we have no errors because we have put here the number of the rows and the number of the columns. Okay, so now we have declared the variable, the array, for our two-dimensional array. Of course, we are going to create the method, but let's do as if we have this method, as if we already have this method. So let's call this method as if we know that it is exists. So we will put the name of our method. We have it here. We will copy it. Okay, and now we will call this method. We know that there will be 3 parameters here. The first is our matrix array. We have it declared. We have it here, matrix. And the second and the third, it's min value and max value for the boundaries of our random function. So the numbers for our arrays will be generated in this range, mean value from mean value to max value. So we need these variables too as the parameters of our fill matrix method. So the first parameter is our matrix. The second one, mean value, and the third, max value. Mean value and max value. So as if we will call this. Of course we have an error because there is no any fill matrix function. We didn't create it. We haven't created it. So look here, but we can create it using RaySharper. We have here the yellow bulb, and we can and here also, and if we will open it, we see the first line, generate method program fill matrix. We are going to generate this method, so we are going to have the signature of this method, ready signature of this method. And look here what we have here. It's a surprise for us. So we have already fill matrix method, but we will change something here because we don't need this line here. And we have matrix. It's okay because it is two-dimensional matrix, two-dimensional array. Yes, we see it, of integer type. It's correct, but here is something wrong. We don't need object, we need just int, because min value will be of integer type and max value will be of integer type. So we just have changed something. And one more thing, we will put here the initial values. The initial values we will get from our task. We will have -10 for min value and 10 for max value. So we can put here the initial value of -10, and here we can put just 10. We have to set the values, and to declare these two parameters we have to declare them as the variables. So they have integer type, min value, and we have to set the first value. It's also a -10, and the same for max value. Int max value equals to 10. So if we use the parameters, we need to declare them before our calling our method. And we did it. Now we have no any errors, and we are going to continue our fill matrix method. We will create an instance for our random function. So we have a random function which is used for generating the numbers for our array. These numbers will be generated by a random function, and we have a minimum value and maximum value for the generated numbers. So the numbers will be in this range, any number from this range. And we are going to create an instance. How to do it? We have to put down the random class, random. It is a class, and let's call our variable rand equals to new, it will be new instance of random class, random. Okay, so we can use rand as the object of random class. We can use it to generate each element of our matrix. And of course we have to use nested loop to initialize with random numbers all the elements of our matrix. So we have to use nested loop. The first for loop will be with I counter. The first start with 0 because the indexes starts with 0. Okay, I is less than how many columns, how many rows will be. We can use the name of our array, matrix, and the method getLength. The method getLength, it is here. 0 means how many rows will be. So the condition of our for loop is while I is less than the length of our rows. And we have to increase our array counter, and nested loop for int j starts with 0, j less than matrix dot get length 1. Get length 1 means how many columns will be, and we have to increase our counter. Okay, here we need to assign to our matrix, to assign to each value, each element of our matrix, some value, some random value. So we need to put matrix of I, j equals to, we use here rand object we have created, rand dot, and here we have a method next, so it will be the next random number within our range. Okay, and we have to put here a mean value and max value. So the random number will be generated between mean value and max value. Mean value, comma, max value. Okay, and we can write them down to print them out to our console window. So we have generated some number, some value for our array, and then we are going to print it out. So let's take console write, but without line, because we need to put the first row within one line. Right, then we have matrix of I, j, and look here, we can do it to convert it to string, to make it beautiful to string. And then we have pad left method, which will pad our elements to the left, and it will give 4 positions for each of our elements. Okay, so we have write them down, we have print them down, and now we are going to have a new line. After each row we have a new line. So console write line, just new line, and that's all. We have to print them out, and we will do it. Yes. So what we have here, it's the first sentence, we have it here. This one we have to input, for example, 3, and to store it in the variable rows. Then we have to print out this line, it is here we have. Then we have to enter for example 4 as the columns, and we store it in the variable columns. Then we declare our matrix. Matrix has numbers of rows and numbers of columns. Then for our random function we have minimum value to start with, -10, and maximum value to finish with 10. and we call our fill matrix method. We will pass as a parameter our matrix, and we also pass min value for random function and max value for random function. Here we have fill matrix method. It is void method. It doesn't return anything. It just print out the elements of our array. So we create the elements, we initialize it with random numbers in the range from this number to this number, from -10 to 10. And we are going to print the elements out to the console window. Let's start our program to see what we have in our console window. Please enter the number we have, for example, 3, and please enter the number of columns we have, for example, 4. One more time, 3 and 4, and we have beautiful outputting of our matrix. So we have 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 4 columns in each row, and we didn't enter the numbers for our element, but we use random function to do it. Okay, that's all. Our program is ready. You can save it and you can upload your file to the Moodle system. And now, goodbye. Now